For more on U.S. Mexico trade relations, I'm joined now by Rafael Bernal. He's a staff writer with the Latino section of the Hill newspaper, which covers U.S. politics. He's also a former practicing lawyer. So Friday night, late Friday night, news of a deal Monday. All the talk has been of President Trump threatening more tariffs if certain conditions aren't met. Mexican side seems a little bit confused by that, though.
I think everybody's a little bit confused by what the president means today. What we know about the deal is the migrant protection protocol is this idea that anybody asking for asylum in the United States who comes from Central America will wait out their case in Mexico. That's been basically expanded to all Central American asylum seekers. That seems to be a hard deal. The Mexicans will deploy about 6,000 of their National Guard. The National Guard of recent creation, by the way, so we're not really sure who these troops are, but they will be deployed in the southeast border of Mexico. And that's what we know. And then there's this idea of this mystery deal. And, well, the Mexicans denied it exists, and President Trump doubled down on its existence this afternoon.
So what are the chances that both these sides could find themselves in the same situation sooner than later?
Well, it seems for President Trump, borrowing a term, using Mexico as a political piñata has been it's been consistent. It's been good for him for exciting his base. So it's likely he will continue doing that. On the Mexican side, I think it's a bit of wishful thinking to think that when having negotiated with a threat, what a lot of experts called having negotiated with a gun to their head, that now it's over and they've fixed it, and President Trump will only go on the numbers before putting up another threat to Mexico if it's politically convenient for him.
Where does that leave the relationship, though, between Mexico and the United States? They're close neighbors. New president, as you said, maybe the Mexican side may feel like this negotiation was forced on their end. Where do they go from here?
Well, it's actually a very difficult question, and it might be a question that we're asking for decades, because you have to remember the U.S.-Mexico relationship until the mid-'80s had always been contentious. Mexico had pretty much defined itself by its opposition to the United States, by being sort of the first line of defense of what was called then, like in a proud manner, the Third World against the global North. And over the last 40 years, those waters were calmed. The relationship became much more of a trade relationship. The politics of the relationship flipped upside down entirely. But there was always an element of Mexico saying you cannot trust the Americans. Whether that element will be exacerbated again by Trump's actions, not just now, over the last 2 years and however many years he continues in the presidency, well, it remains to be seen. But it certainly gives him a point for the people who were saying that the United States had ill intentions toward Mexico.
A lot of President Trump's own members of his own party were not happy about the potential of tariffs. What's been the mood on the Hill since this announcement was made both Friday and then what Trump had to say? I want to point out that the vice president of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce called it weaponization of tariffs. Is there a sigh of relief on the Hill, or is it?
Well, they're happy. Republicans, especially in farm country and from states that really depend on trade with Mexico, they're happy they don't have to go into this fight with the White House. The last thing they needed was that, but they know their constituents, and they know, especially U.S. farmers, they know where their market is, and they know the Mexicans have threatened before to go look, for instance, for corn in South America rather than in Iowa.
So. All right, we'll have to see what happens next. This is just a few days later. Things could change tomorrow.
They could. They very well could.
Rafael, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.